Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Joining me today, once again, we have Cameron Abbott, which I will stretch out long enough for him to finish his drink. How you doing, Cam?
Sorry about timing. Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And today we are talking about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The first two episodes of which dropped this week. Those episodes being Amazing Fantasy and The Parker Luck. Why'd we pick it? Because it was the new thing on Disney Plus this week, and we left last week's episode not really knowing what we were going to do. And I realized as soon as I started recording this one, I was like, I forgot to check in with Cam to see what we want to try and talk about for next week's episode. So feel free to think about what you want to maybe do an episode on next week. Yes, our history lesson here. These first couple episodes here released January 29th, 2025. The season is releasing in like 2 or 3 episode batches for the next few weeks through February 19th, 2025. I believe it's going to be 4 weeks of like 2 or 3 episode drops. The runtime thus far is about 29 to 31 minutes per episode. And I saw something, I don't know if this is actually true, but I saw something that was basically like, well, legally, if they try and make anything Spider-Man related that's like more than 45 minutes, it runs into like Sony territory because it's a movie at that point, and Sony has the movie rights. So
I guess
I imagine it will be like locked into 30-minute format kind of stuff. But anyway, in the Marvel TV timeline of things, we have What If Season 2 was end of 2023, and we had Echo last year, January 10th, 2024. Agatha All Along, September 18th through October 30th, 2024. What If Season 3 was December 22nd through the 29th. And then now we have Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man dropping here in January and February. And that's going to be followed up by Daredevil, Born Again, March 4th, 2025. And then Ironheart is slated for June 24th, 2025. Eyes of Wakanda slated for August 6th, 2025. Marvel Zombies coming in October for the Halloween-themed, and then Wonder Man in December 2025. That is the slate of the Marvel block of shows this year on Disney+. Roll call here. Across these 2 episodes, we have 2 directors. We have directing in part on both episodes, Melchior Zweier. He worked again on Amazing Fantasy and The Parker Luck. Previously having worked on shows like The Legend of Korra, where he directed 9 episodes of that, 8 episodes of Star Wars Rebels, and 15 episodes of Young Justice. And then we also have directing on The Parker Luck, Liza Singer, who has largely worked as a storyboard artist. Her only directing credit prior to this one was 1 episode of a show called The Harper House. So kind of stepping up to the plate for some directorial stuff here. Our writers across these 2 episodes, Jeff Trammell, who is the showrunner and writer of the first episode, Amazing Fantasy, writer of miscellaneous TV shows going back to 2017. Most notable thing that stood out to me was a show called Craig of the Creek.
Oh, yeah, I love Trevor and Cameron.
126 episodes of that, where he was either writer or like story editor or something like that.
Craig of the Creek is really good.
Credited on 126 episodes of that. And then Charlie Nooner wrote the Parker Luck episode. Another limited output in terms of IMDb credits. 1 episode of The Loud House is their only prior credit for this. Our cast of characters, we have Hudson Thames playing Peter Parker / Spider-Man with a bunch of miscellaneous credits going back to 2006. Nothing particularly jumped out at me, but that's who we got there. Carrie Walgren playing May Parker. Hundreds of IMDb credits.
Oh, yeah.
Notably, she is the voice of Katana and Melina in the Mortal Kombat games. She's also the voice of Ash from Final Fantasy XII. Mm-hmm. Grace Song as Nico Minoru. Another one, lots of miscellaneous credits going back to 2003, but nothing particularly jumped out to me in terms of like, that's a thing I would know them from. Eugene Bird playing Lonnie Lincoln was Andy Diggle in the Arrowverse. He's also Dell in the Gears of War 4 and 5 games, and he had a voice in Legend of Vox Machina. Zeno Robinson playing Harry Osborn. Hundreds of IMDb credits, including Cyborg in Young Justice and Hawks in the English dub of My Hero Academia.
Nice.
I saw that and I was like, oh, I gotta give a My Hero shout out, especially because it's a character that I'm like, oh, you were just coming on the show when I kind of turned off of the show and have not gone back to it.
Yeah.
So I hope you're cool.
Hawks is an extremely cool character. Very, very cool.
Yeah. Coleman Domingo playing Norman Osborn here, which I wrote in the doc as Normal Osborn. Norman Osborn, Coleman Domingo having been in high-profile projects like Lincoln and Selma, many, many years on Fear the Walking Dead. And then last year and this year, he was nominated for Academy Awards for his performances in Rustin last year and Sing Sing this year. Kathy Ong as Pearl Pangan, or Pangan. She's been in the Harley Quinn show as well as Star Wars Tales of the Empire. And then I have kind of a flurry of like the little like, you know, cameo-ish roles so far, but a lot of them are also just storied video game or animation voice actors, including Robin Atkin Downs, who does the Doctor Strange cameo in the first episode, who you may recognize as the voice of Travis Touchdown from No More Heroes, or in the Uncharted games, he was Navarro and Talbot. Phil Lamar is Mr. Taylor, of course, Samurai Jack or Hermes from Futurama, among many, many other credits. Roger Craig Smith as Coach Grayfield. You may hear him as Ezio or Batman in the Origins game, or Sonic in many games. Paul F. Tompkins in there as Bentley Whitman, of course a stand-up, but also Mr. Peanut Butter from the BoJack Horseman series. Zara Fazal as this universe's version of Dr. Connors. She was Wonder Woman in the ill-fated Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game, among other things. And then we have our little trio of interns that I have here. Alex Lee plays Amadeus Cho. Who in this credit I saw, I was like, oh, I got to call this out because Cameron called this out in his like favorite things of 2024. Alex Lee plays Jinwoo Sung in Solo Leveling.
Yep.
Which I would not have known that as a thing until you mentioned that a couple weeks ago. He also is the voice of Jin Jiji and Joji. Apologies if I completely butchered that, in Dan Da Dan.
Yep.
And I recognized his voice as Eiji Mitamura in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth last year.
Oh, there you go.
Erica Luttrell is Asha. She was Shuri in the Marvel's Avengers Black Panther DLC, so keeping her Wakanda kind of aesthetic there. She was also Zoe in Horizon Forbidden West, which, if I remember correctly, is the woman who kind of gets romantically involved with Varl in that game. And then Anjali Kunapaneni as Jean Foucault was Leanne or Lion in Eiden Chronicle 100 Heroes. I don't know if that is anybody that stands out to you in terms of that game, or if they are just one of the 100 heroes. She's also the voice of Yuki Tsukumo in Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, shout out to that.
Yeah.
Some trivia for this. We have this show was originally intended to be set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as it was supposed to be the origin of the Tom Holland Spider-Man from the MCU, but it was later decided to be set in an alternate universe, with the show being described, quote, as an extended what-if episode. We do have echoes of the MCU timeline, including the intro Queen's lettering that mirrors, of course, the Captain America Civil War debut that we got of this version of Spider-Man, or our version of Spider-Man in the MCU. We have a shot of Spider-Man doing a flip over Clev, the hot dog guy, played by Zach Cherry, who told Spider-Man to do a flip in Spider-Man Homecoming. Fun little, like, animated cameo of that guy. The cell phone bus rescue footage that we have of Peter kind of blocking the van where the guy's fallen asleep is very similar to the footage that Tony Stark shows Peter in Captain America Civil War. And then Norman Osborn's internship offer, very similar. Like, that whole sequence is very much like a one-for-one kind of shot of Peter walking in and finding Tony Stark on the couch with Aunt May. So fun little review there. And then the last little bit of trivia here, almost last little bit of trivia, would have been the last little bit of trivia, is that lots of supporting cast members here have superpowered alter egos, but since some of that may be future plot points, I'm not going to bother diving into what those potential spoilers may be. It was definitely interesting, like watching this and being like, I don't know who any of these people are, because these are all like, a new class of supporting characters. But then the last little bit of trivia, let's say, that I threw in here is that the Peter Parker here, Hudson Thames, made headlines this week following an interview with Collider where he said, quote, "I thought it was awesome. I mean, my biggest fear was that it was going to be an annoying and woke, and it wasn't. And I was like, yes, this is great. It's so well written. Like, it feels real. I'm the oldest of 5 boys, so I feel like I kind of know what's happening in their lives and in high school, and it feels like it was doing that justice." And that certainly made the rounds. And made the rounds 2 days ago. I've not seen any kind of like public, hey, my bad, I misspoke or anything like that. But the showrunner, Jeff Trammell, popped up and did some damage control in a Reddit AMA either yesterday or 2 days ago, saying, I love Hudson, and didn't focus too much on what he said. I believe he simply misspoke, and I know that's been weighing on him. I think we made a fantastic show that is going to appeal to a wide audience and hopefully captures what I love about this Spider-Man, that he's a guy who cares deeply about the people around him and always tries to do the right thing. And I mean, I tend to agree with that assessment of like, that's a weird misspeaking.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if anything, like
this show's so woke.
If you watch this show and you are the kind of person that uses woke derogatorily, you would absolutely fucking be using woke derogatorily at this show. So
100%.
It was such a weird, like, I was like, oh man, that sucks.
Same.
Fuck,
I was
fuck
like,
this guy. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
and then I was like, do I really want to watch this one?
It was very much for me. I was like, all right, well, we kind of already committed to doing it for this episode. But if this is the kind of guy who's their Peter Parker, I'm very disinclined to watch the rest of the series.
I was ready. I was like, I'm going to take notes and be like, hey, this is BS and everything. And then I watched the first episode. I'm like,
no, this is woke as fuck.
This is so woke. This is so freaking woke, man. Like,
but like,
we have a black
bad.
teen, athletic black teen, walk down and get perp-eyed by a cop in the neighborhood, and you see the tension in that moment. This show is woke.
Yeah.
Like, it's so woke. Like, it's crazy. So I'm like, and so I forgot who it was, but somebody skeeted out on Blue Sky. They were like, did he read the script? Like, does he know does he know the show he's in?
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I was going to bring it up here. I was like, it's a very, like, Inigo Montoya, like, you keep using that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means. Like,
that's,
sorry, Vicini.
Vicini.
Yeah, Vicini says it. Yeah, sorry, Vicini says that.
Sorry. Yeah, I far be it from me to second guess a Princess Bride thing from you, but
no, because it's like, you keep saying that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yeah.
And then Vicini goes, it means this, and here's the etymology of it, and like, aha. You like, I'm not gonna toot my head horn, but yes,
this guy, the like seeing the quote, and like I'd kind of already suspected from like the trailers and stuff. I was like, I mean, I feel like
it's pretty woke.
I feel like it's intentionally
Osborns
a
are black.
Diverse cast of characters. And if you deem that as woke and DEI is bad, like, go fuck yourself.
Absolutely.
You're not welcome here.
If we haven't made that clear, I don't know how we haven't made that clear here.
I was very happy. My work had, like, we had an all-staff call this week, and, like, our CEO was like, hey, I get that, like, other people are, like, cutting back on their DEI initiatives, but that's not who we are. We are still fully, embracing DEI, and, we're, like, that is who we are as a culture and as an organization.
I work in anti-money laundering. That's never that's just not something that people worry about. Especially because like everybody I work with is like for the most part remote, or they're in like a very like they're in like a not a call center but like a work center in the middle of the country. It's like it's very much like not a like most of us don't ever see each other. So it's not that kind of work.
I will reinforce and kind of echo my own CEO's sentiment as that nerdy site person here, being like, we love woke shit.
Oh, woke stuff.
Be woke. Be woke. Trans rights are human rights.
Absolutely.
Fuck Nazis. Fuck TERFs.
Yeah, fuck Nazis. Fuck TERFs. I will say, like, and this is the big thing to make an emphasis on is, like, we have opportunity. Trevor and I both have opportunities and have had opportunities in our lives as white men to be not terrible to people. When we easily could have been terrible to people and gotten away with it.
Mm-hmm. It's way easier to not be terrible, though.
I don't understand it. I don't
find
get it.
At least, yeah. I don't know.
People who waste their energy just to be terrible to the people because somehow on some level it'll make them feel better boggles my mind. I don't get it.
Well, I saw somebody skeeted the other day of like it was basically the gist of it was like DEI is just empathy. Like,
yep,
that's all it is.
Empathy and trying to put empathy and just like caring about other people.
Yeah.
I saw somebody be like, when they say DI, are they just saying black? And I'm like, not white, basically.
Some people, yeah.
Not white, not men. Not white men, basically, is it? And not straight white men. That's also another thing, too. It's like, fascism comes in phases, and right now, this is what they're focusing on, but they will come for you. Mm-hmm. And eventually, when they've come for everyone, they will start whittling away at what it means to be white. Because that's how they lost what it meant to be white. It used to be WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, right? Mm-hmm. Then they had to drop the Protestant because there weren't enough Protestants and there weren't more Catholics and they wanted more Catholics to be involved in that on their side. Then they drop Anglo-Saxon because then they're like, well, I guess these Eastern Europeans and these Italians can be white too, I guess. And now it just means white and it's such a blanket term, but like Trevor and I both identify as white. Like we fill out the white/Caucasian on our tax forms and stuff. On the census. But like I'm queer. Like I'm very much not welcome in the club. I was welcome in the club for about 30 years and then I decided to come out. And yeah, of course I'm like emotionally in my mind, I'm like, I'm coming out and it's like, it's a safe time to come out. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah. I did theater and I try and respect people. I'm not welcome in the club either.
Yep. We both made public statements that we're both very much
I could very easily pass for being in the club though, but I will. That is a club I want no part of. So,
absolutely.
Once again, fuck Nazis, fuck TERFs, trans rights, human rights, and you are welcome here unless you are a piece of shit.
If you are part of the Nazis or TERFs, or you just don't respect people and you don't believe that trans rights are human rights, if you are part of that group, please take yourself, fold up your chair, put it on the rack, and walk your ass out. Yeah. And may the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
Yeah. But if you're part of the Alphabet Mafia,
100%.
What's up?
Gang, what up?
Anyway, back to your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Hop off our little soapbox there.
That's Trevor, I gotta put my soapbox away.
Yeah, it was just such an interesting, like,
such a weird
watching the show with that quote as like the biggest news in the back of my mind. I'm like, what the fuck show does this guy think he's on? He's got to just not know what woke means.
I don't think he knows what woke means.
That's got to be what this is.
Well, I thought he was trying to say like, oh, there's no like, there's no. I guess he was trying to say like, there's no like, we're not politicking about it, or we're not making like, we're not being like, check it out. It's a not white person. Like, I don't know if that was his mention with it, but this show's woke as hell. So yeah, what'd you think, Cam, of these first couple episodes of Amazing Fantasy End of the Parker Luck? It was a real hard adjustment for the art style and the animation for me. It took me probably most of the first episode to get used to it. Mm-hmm. But it is a little jarring because the art style is so. It feels so 2D and then it moves in a way that it's like moving through like some Blender animation program or something that I'm like, oh, this is, and the art paneling and the choice they're doing with it is like, it's very jarring. Yeah. I don't know enough about animation to really be able to like adequately describe it. What I kind of landed on was this. I like what it is evoking. Yes. Of like, this is very much like throwback to the 60s and 70s, like look of Peter Parker and like that kind of art style in the comics. And so much so that like some of there are references and like just like one for one, like the image that we get of Spider-Man helping like Harry Osborn out is like a one for one shot of like the Amazing Fantasy 15 where he debuts kind of thing. And so it's like, that was cool, but yeah, there so much of it, I just don't like it in motion. It feels like the bad things that I don't like about like Borderlands animation stuff in the video game space. It's this weird, awkward cell shading when it's moving as like, it feels like it's moving too quickly, but also too slowly at the same time.
Yeah, and then it feels like it's doing a half measure towards the Spider-Verse, like really doing a live action version of a comic kind of thing. Where like we get a couple shots where it's like, okay, there's like they do some frame stuff and we see like character, reactions in 4 frames on a screen kind of thing. But I feel like it's so few and far between that it feels like when it does come up, it's a little bit more jarring than like it feels naturally a piece of a whole.
Yeah.
It feels almost like we've got Into the Spider-Verse at home.
A little bit, yeah. I would say
vibe to it.
I would say that is kind of that's the kind of like vibe to it. But once you adapt to it, like second episode, like, by the time I was watching, I was like, I'm not noticing the things that like. What I will say, the animation, if it's done in Blender, if they've done it in anything, they're doing a really great job of avoiding clipping and a lot of other things that are like really easy things to kind of like like. Especially with the kind of like bands and like the tubing that he has on his arms, it would really be easy to like have like a clip through of the arm going through it, like something going wrong on that level, which is my fear especially when it comes to animation that's going to be put on Disney Plus. How halfway, what half measures were done on it and everything, because that's kind of the fear is that like budget wise they just don't seem to be enough to capture kind of the quote unquote Marvel cinematic feel. But in this case, I was a bit worried based on like the animation budget, like what are they going to do with that? But I felt like the action scenes, especially in the second episode's fight, worked on the level that they were working. One thing that's very nice is that they are not half-assing it with the background character drop actors. Like, I'm not seeing repeat models. I'm not seeing faded outlines of what would be people. Like, we're talking about like actual, even somebody who's just like, I'm a lady crying because I took the money. That's a fully fleshed out drawn character. Not generic looking at all. And I'm like, okay, I'm liking this. I like this aspect of it. I like that when it's hitting on all cylinders, this show really works. Yeah,
I'll say you like, even like as somebody who never really I missed just because of like when they came out in my eras of life. I never really watched any of the other like Spider-Man animated things like Ultimate Spider-Man or Spectacular Spider-Man or anything like that.
Sure.
Like the one I vaguely remember was like after the Sam Raimi Spider-Man stuff came out. MTV Spider-Man, I think was like Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
And being like super CG and like really going down that rabbit hole. I was like, oh, I don't like the look of that, just because it's very much like I don't think this is going to hold up, and I'm sure it
does
doesn't.
not. I've seen it in the last couple of years. It does not hold up.
Yeah. Whereas this, it's like, this isn't like my super cup of tea, but it's certainly not anything where I'm so turned off by it that like the animation is what's going to get me to stop watching this.
It's unique in a way that I don't think it's certainly not mainstream animation style. I was afraid they were like cheaping out by using 3D CGI for a lot of the animation stuff, but to see them kind of like embrace that and really get into it, I wouldn't say, and for people who are familiar with it, it's certainly not on the level of like what I would say like Beastars is, or some of the other ones that have like really dedicated themselves into making the 3D animation an art form. So when it comes to this, I wouldn't say it reaches like that levels of fluidity and motion and like capturing it and making you feel lost, but there are moments where in certain scenes that I felt lost in the animation, that I forgot about the kind of like odd pacing, like the odd animation, like jankiness. It's not even jankiness. That's the thing. I would say if it was janky, that would be one thing, but it's not janky. It's intentional in a way, and it's very strange. That being said, it's very unique, and it gives it, I think, a big distinction from any other Spider-Man animated series.
Yeah.
So, especially with the way it's embracing a kind of like modernized 60s era of Peter Parker, which, by the way, people forget because we keep going back to Peter in high school. Spider-Man in high school was like very small amount of his like comic book run. There's not a lot of high school material to pull from. We keep going back to it for some reason.
I mean, like, because we keep going back to the origin.
Yeah, to the origin.
Like, it's always like, he was in high school when he gets bit. All right, now let's have him graduate in the Raimi stuff. Let's pretty much have, I mean, he graduates in the Amazing Spider-Man ones too. He is now graduated in the MCU-esque, I guess now he's just I guess he's getting a GED is what they imply at the end of No Way Home.
Yeah, he's working on his GED.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like it's a good origin point for the character because he's young, and that's a good time when your body's changing. You can play with all those fun jokes too and stuff. But yeah, so on the movie side of things, we just never see until we get like a Jake Johnson, old Spider-Man in Into the Spider-Verse, like what a post high school Spider-Man looks like. So, this very much originally being pitched as like the precursor to what we saw in Civil War. It, like, of course, we were going to keep a young. I appreciate that this is basically it is an origin, but it's also an origin unlike what we've had before. Like, true. I like that the first episode, Uncle Ben's already gone, and he's not Spider-Man.
He's not Spider-Man yet.
Because it's that was always kind of the thing looming over Tom Holland's Spider-Man is like he says something to the effect of like, when you have the abilities I have and you do nothing, what happens is kind of on you. The implication being that like he could have stopped Uncle Ben's death and didn't, as we've seen so many times before. So the fact that
I always called it in Homecoming, I always referred to Uncle Ben as like the phantom character, like the character that's like missing, that explains kind of like these like bigger emotional moments. Mm-hmm. That like I think by the time we get to No Way Home, it's basically like there is no Uncle Ben as was confirmed. But especially and
especially when May gets the iconic like
with great power comes great responsibility, which is I felt fitting for that. Like, but I did also really. I was sad that we didn't get a confirmation of like the Phantom Uncle Ben. Yeah, like at least on her. Spoilers for a movie that came out years ago. Spoiler, like on her tombstone, even just like a beloved wife would have been like a.
I thought that is in there.
Is it? I didn't think so.
I feel like we've also had this debate before. But yeah, kicking it off with like, and even the show kind of playing with that expectation as like, Peter misses the train and he goes to open his backpack and you're like, oh, he's going to come out and be Spider-Man. Oh no, he's just pulling out that nasty ass oatmeal in a bag. Yep. Oatmeal to go with just a thing of bread in there. I'm like, what the hell? That is such a weird oatmeal breakfast. I guess if it was served in a bowl and on a plate, it would be two separate things. But like, why would you're just making really soggy bread there now?
Yep.
I did not like that. That was gross. But then it sets up the callback later after he is Spider-Man and has been doing this a few months, where he pulls it out and pulls out his suit. What did you think of the decision we have the opening sequence, he gets bit, it's a big old fight between a symbiote and Doctor Strange, Spider comes down, bites him, and then it cuts to like a few months later or something like that. We kind of we skip past the like him getting a feel for his powers and the really beginning phases of everything.
I'm okay with it, especially because we don't have to worry about like a lot of episodes about that transition to a different high school. One of the things I really like is like, Doctor Strange doesn't save the high school, so it gets shut down and the kids get shunted off to other places. Yeah. And the fact that also we get a member of the Runaways here. Yeah. Nico is very much like not a contemporary of Peter Parker in any other show. I love Nico as a character. I think it's rad. Another thing I loved about it is like, when you say this show's not woke, Nico outright says she likes Pearl because she says what's his name? I want to call him Tombstone because that's his character. That's who his character ends up being. So,
who are you talking about?
Pearl's boyfriend, the football player.
Lonnie Lincoln. That's Tombstone.
Yeah, Lonnie Lincoln's Tombstone.
Oh,
I
caught a bunch of the other ones. I didn't catch that one.
Not a contemporary of Peter Parker. Yeah. Much older character normally. So wild stuff. With that injecting that into it, I'm like, this is very different. Pearl's a brand new original character. So we're not getting an MJ, which I'm like, cool, because MJ doesn't show up until college in the comics anyway, so it's all right. It is a matter of I really enjoy what they did with it, the change up of it. I like that Peter's like, well, how am I supposed to get into robotics? I'm super obsessed with technology. And the answer coming in the form of Norman frickin' Osborn.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Norman being like, I'm randomly going through high schools and like trying to find the best students. And it's like, and then at the end of episode 2, be like, you're Spider-Man. I'm like, I think personally, your son got saved, you investigated, you figured out he was Spider-Man, and then you lured him into your lair.
Yeah.
This is very much like an evil mentor situation, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I also like that, like, we know that because the one gets named as Harry, and this is Norman Osborn, so, like, we can put two and two together that was Harry Osborn that he saved. But I like that, like, the show hasn't revealed that yet, and it's still a discovery that
Harry
that
shows up on a like red carpet on the TV, and Peter doesn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we're seeing the like. Eventually, this will be the reveal later on that we get, and it's like I love that it's that setup. I love that Harry is immediately just like, "Hey, so should I like shoot you some money?" And Peter's being like, "No, just help from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man."
Yeah,
and that really affects Harry on like a level that he was not anticipating, and he really falls into. I like Spider-Man.
Yeah, I love the. Yeah, I love that. Like, I told him I don't carry cash, but like Venmo, it's just like that's a 21st century mogul, I guess.
Absolutely. Also, love the fight.
Or do you want some Bitcoin?
Yeah. When he during the fight, this is where the animation started to click for me. Was during the alleyway fight.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of I'm like, did that brick just randomly appear out of nowhere? It's like, oh no, there's like it's from the environment. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. Because normally in like 2D animation, you have to use thicker outlines to call attention to it. So when it happens, it doesn't feel like it comes out of nowhere. This, they're just like, no, it's there. We're using the asset. It's flying, and that's great. Also, I love that Peter doesn't know his own strength just yet.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a firm. He knows how to use his abilities on a basic level, but he does not know the extent and limits that they're of.
Yeah, but even with that, he is willing to put himself between a moving van and a bus.
Yep. Or when he tried to save Nico from the symbiote.
Yeah.
And that led to him getting attacked and the spider
well, he wasn't superpowered at that point, so
he was just a regular guy.
Yeah, he's just a guy who's gonna try and save the day or do
just help somebody.
Help people,
yeah. He that's the best part. Also want to shout out really unique Doctor Strange look. Normally we see either with like the full hair slicked back or we see the kind of like coif from Benedict Cumberbatch, but to get like a very like stylized like cut bangs short on the side, I'm like that's a unique look.
And just like the mustache,
the
mustache,
that's in later years it's become like the goatee for Doctor Strange, but the OG Doctor Strange did have that thick fat mustache.
Yeah, that speaks to one of the things I really like about the art style of this, less so like the animation and movement, but the art style. I love that we get to see in the credits sequence like alt versions of the character, like other drafts before they landed on here's the final look we're going to go with. I liked that for a lot of these different characters. We see a lot of those like alt takes.
I like that they decided to go and stick with the 60s hair for Peter. The more contemporary hairstyles I think look good, but this tells us by looking at him, this guy's a geek. This guy's a nerd. It's this really old-fashioned haircut, old-fashioned look, but it's been modernized. Like his clothing these are just regular clothes. Like they're nice clothes, but they're regular clothes. These aren't quote unquote nerd clothes. I think that's done extremely well. You get to pull kind of like that emo alt goth look for Nico, which feels like, is that pulled from the 80s, 90s, or is it modern? Like it's just really well done. Overall, a very timeless look, I almost want to call it. If it wasn't so modernly stylized. Yeah.
So we get to episode 2 where this is all about like Peter getting that internship, and I liked also I don't remember if this was like the first episode or the second, or it kind of bleeds in between the two. I liked the friendship that's forming between Lonnie and Peter.
Yeah.
Like I like that Lonnie's like, yeah, like I know some stuff. Like I'm here on a sports scholarship, but like I want to be a smart guy too, and that it's not like
I want something to fall back on if it doesn't work out.
It's one of those things like without knowing the show, I saw like the the different characters, and I was like, oh, is that
that
going to be the Flash of this show? And I like that it's not. I like that he, at least so far, and maybe that's by design, and he will turn, and there will be like a rivalry between them at some point, and it'll rip our hearts out. But I like, at least so far, that he's just like a good guy who's like loves his team, loves being the quarterback or captain or whatever he is, and fully respects that Peter is smart, and like he will be like, hey, I want Peter to be my partner, and not maybe for the cynical reason that Nico thinks of, like, oh, he's just going to get you to do all his work for you. Dang it, he stole my idea.
Yep.
I like that he seems interested in kind of pulling his load and wants to learn from Peter as much as anything else.
Another thing too, it's like Pearl told me you're really smart, and that and it's also another thing. He looks at Pearl, Pearl's his girlfriend, and Peter is, for all intents and purposes, a friend of Pearl's. He knows Peter's not considered popular, so what does he do? He involves Peter as much as he possibly can, and they strike. At the end of the first episode, they strike and start a genuine friendship. By episode 2, they're fast friends.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, as you highlighted, like, we get that completely unnecessary for the plot of the grander show, but the cutaway of him walking down the street and the cop with the lights on just kind of mean mugging him and just being like,
also you hear crime and stuff happening all around, and so without showing us, we hear from audio. This is great audio design too, by the way. This show has phenomenal audio design. We hear this is not a nice neighborhood, right? We hear that. Then we get into his home, and you see this is a 2-parent household that is a loving household. Like, this is a loving home. Hey, I talked to the shop teacher, and he said, I showed him what was going on with your car. I'm going to take a look at it after dinner, and I help out Andre with his homework, and maybe we don't have to take it into the shop. And it's just like, this is somebody who's looking out for his family. He's looking out for his friends. He's looking out for his team. He's looking out for his school. Like, this is
straight up Jammer from Misfits and Magic.
Did I get big Jammer vibes? I 100% did.
Yep.
100%. Like, it is a great guy who is a core member of his community, and getting the opportunity to meet people like Peter and getting to now date Pearl and everything. It is much more of a, it's such a interesting look at Peter is not a friendless geek. He's a geek, but he has friends, because guess what? Geeks have friends. And I liked it. Peter's like, oh yeah, we're the outcasts. And it's like, and it kind of brings it upon it. Like, most of the time when you think you're an outcast, you're the only one thinking you're an outcast.
Yeah. They invite Nico and Peter to the after party kind of thing. And Nico sits there thinking she's kind of an outcast and doesn't really have a place there. Like, she is putting that more on herself 100%. than admittedly, the what we see at the party is very much like everybody else is also cordoned off, and nobody's really engaging her either. But
it's a two-way street for sure. Yeah. They don't know her that well, and it's kind of
it's easy to just kind of fall into the corners that you do know.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a very real high school thing.
And then she walks through an entire group of people that she could have easily stopped with and just said, "Hey, what's up?" with. Because some of them were like, "Oh, hey," and she was like, "Out of my way." And one time and then she gets really rude at the end and walks out. And I get it. Your anchor, your friend anchor, who you were hoping to really use as a safety pin, a safety blanket to make sure that I do know somebody here. I feel like I can belong. That is what you wanted Peter there for. He doesn't show up because he's he's got a lot going on. I will say this Peter got a lot going on.
Yeah. That is another echo to the Holland Spider-Man in Homecoming of Ned at the party and texting, and Peter goes off on an adventure, and Ned just kind of is left alone with his hat.
With his hat. Also, when Peter does show up, everybody's chanting Penis Parker.
Yes.
Homecoming's such a good movie.
It is, yeah. But yeah, we get the introduction to the Oscorp, and the other interns. I'm unfamiliar with it was the Paul F. Tompkins character, Watman or whatever, Henry Watman, I think. I did look and see oh, he has some sort of alter ego kind of
Does he?
thing.
I didn't recall. I didn't pick up
It's
on.
I mean, yeah, it's like a D-list character or something like that. But
Sure. Some people might say
like the Connors
Tombstone is
here,
so too, so.
yeah. And I mean, Tombstone, I've only ever encountered in the
Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse, and before that, I had encountered him in the Marvel Spider-Man games. But yeah, before Marvel Spider-Man, I had no idea who Tombstone was. But yeah, like I like this version of Dr. Connors walks in. I'm like, oh, very cool. Which again, like going into like, yeah, if you didn't like Dylan Baker and Reese Ifans, this is not.
Nope.
No, we got a gender and race swapped Dr. Connors in here.
He's the wizard. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I like the we get like 3 flavors from the interns of like the one that's kind of like sees Peter as a threat, but not enough of a threat to worry about. In I think Jean was her name.
Yeah.
We've got Amadeus, who's very much like I'm the alpha, blah blah blah. I'm an idiot here. And then Asha, the Wakandan, who is like, you know, trying to be like welcoming and gracious, but also will be like, he's weird. Do not let him near the matches or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wild. Okay.
Oh, you're looking up who some of these other characters
Yeah.
are?
Jean is the daughter of Taskmaster.
Yeah. I saw like the who these characters are, but I didn't want to delve too deep into it. So yeah, then we have the butane fight.
Yeah, the butane fight's rad. I really enjoyed that fight.
Yeah, like the butane fight, interesting in terms of like when it falls within like Peter, because like Peter tells Nico like, hey, I think we're just about done here. I'll head over there. But he tells her that like while he's only on a 15-minute break.
Yeah.
With Dr. Connors. Yeah. And then he leaves that 15-minute break to go get into a fight with a guy burning down a building, which I didn't even pick up from the news story that it was like being caused by a person. And maybe that was intentionally like supposed to be a surprise even for Peter, but like Peter seemed so unfazed by it. In fact, he seemed overjoyed when the guy was like, I made sure it was empty. He's like, oh, cool. Well, you did half my job for me then. Great. But yeah, then we get the fun little segment of like him saving all the pets. My favorite of which being like, all right, there you go, hamsters. And then the snake comes out. He's like, never mind.
Yep.
Great fun pet shop humor.
Felt a little Pee-wee's Big Adventure to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with the cockatoo flying.
Yeah.
Very, very big.
I'm sure that was absolutely like a reference source for the animators. Yeah.
Oh, the hamsters being put down and being like, but next snake. Oh no. Mm-hmm. Really great.
Yeah. But then yeah, we get this like fun butane fight. Peter kind of like the like, all right, next suit's got to be flame proof. I don't know anything about butane as like a grander character, so it is just kind of like another in a like rogues villain or rogues gallery of villains here. But I like that he's doing it for gentrification purposes, basically, of like a company is paying him to burn this building down. Oh, he got the wrong building. Yep. Oops.
That was so good. Yeah. He runs to the window and goes, oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll be curious to see, because we get like a tease that this is like part of a larger plot. He's got like this logo on his arm thing that appears to be an infinity symbol, or it could be OO for Otto Octavius.
I saw it a little bit, reminded me of like a stylized version of the Oscorp logo.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction is it's Osborn related.
Because it looks like the circles are enclosed, I look at it as an auto thing.
Maybe.
Especially it's
like
also an 8 for octopus.
There you go. That's a good point. Also could be a setting up a Sinister Six type thing with this.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I have seen that like there is somebody cast as Otto Octavius, so he will be appearing at some point in the season.
Big E's the...
I did see that, Big E is also cast in an undisclosed role, and I'm like, that's neat. But yeah, I don't know who. But yeah, I mean, it seems like we're also going to get... No, it looks like it is announced that it's Hugh Dancy is going to be Otto Octavius.
Okay.
But we do have like a few other cameos that are a little bit more MCU crossover cameos. That'll be interesting to see how those shake out in the weeks ahead. But yeah, I loved the... Okay, so he finishes things up there. Oh, also I loved the awkward banter of Peter explaining that he loves fire and all the other kids being put off by that. And I'll be curious to see how the one of the things that jarred me a little bit, and admittedly part of this was because I woke up I had a weird sleep schedule the other day, and so I woke up and watched this episode at 3 a.m. or 2. I watched these 2 episodes from 2 to 3 a.m. the morning they were out, and so but the thing that I felt overwhelmed by was how many new characters we were getting introduced to, especially because the first episode we're getting introduced to all of these new characters in his high school, and then now we're getting introduced to all these new characters in his internship, and it really is okay, the names we know are Lonnie Lincoln, and I hadn't put together that it was Tombstone, in large part because the iterations I've seen of it, Tombstone's been a much older guy than Peter. But yeah, the Dr. Connors and the Norman Osborn are the touchstones that we get in this, and everybody else is new to a Peter Parker character. And I wonder how much I wonder how much of that is a holdover from this being originally a Tom Holland Peter Parker, where it's he can't be meeting MJ and I forget, Michelle from the first was it Michelle? He can't be meeting the 2 girl love interests from the first movie, from Homecoming, because this is a year or 2 before that or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So I mean, but yeah, at some point it's when would he have known Ned and all that mix, and whatever the case may be, it's okay. We're slotting in a brand new cast of characters to go along with this Spider-Man. So I was having a hard time keeping up just over the course of these 2 episodes. And I'm sure that'll, even just talking about it helps cement them a little bit better and lock in a little bit more of the names. But I'll be curious to see, it was almost okay, how many of these people are actually important, or how many of these are just going to be in this episode and then we're not going to see them again? Yeah. And it's just world building of okay, these characters have been seeded, so we can maybe come back to them in a future week.
I will say Dr. Carla Connors is a great addition and a great twist on that. Really enjoyed it. I loved, also shout out to I forgot to mention it at the beginning. Iron Man's in this universe. We see a little Iron Man tchotchke hanging from Aunt May's.
I mean, in the big Queen's shot, Avengers Tower is there, or Stark Tower, Avengers Tower. We don't know where it is in this timeline of things, but it's that design from the MCU, so it's there in the New York skyline.
We have that. Then we also have that massive Oscorp building. I'm really digging the Peter didn't know who Doctor Strange was, so we know Doctor Strange isn't big in this universe, maybe not yet anyway, or maybe not well known by the public. Which is fair because he wasn't before Avengers stuff anyway. But what I really enjoyed about it was when...
And also, I mean, even the Strange we even see is that even of this dimension, because he comes from a dimensional portal. So seems like it's probably an interdimensional version of Doctor Strange anyway.
It definitely seems that way. On top of that also is Carla Connors during the Peter's internship. It's we're developing this thing that's supposed to be using this technology. And he says, "Oh, so the Stark arc reactor," and she goes, "Exactly like that, but not that because he patented that." And kind of it being I love that this is a vanity project, because it's Osborn clearly is I'm the big science guy in town, and Stark's just here's endless energy. It's really, really cool. I'm really excited. I also saw they cast Iron Man already in it, so I'm digging that. I like that we're getting it. It's the guy who's been playing like Iron Man and a lot of like other MCU stuff. He was the Iron Man and What If stuff. So, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward.
So he's probably going to be doing a Robert Downey Jr.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I like that we.
Is there any other kind of I
mean, at this point, no. Any other Iron Man would feel weird. I liked the. We get like when they're flipping channels at one point. We get like a Crusher Hogan call out. Shout out Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yep.
Yeah.
You told us the truth about Hulk Hogan, and we didn't listen soon enough.
The one of the things I'll be curious about to see if it like plays into a larger story is we see as Peter is walking to Norman's office, we see like Norman and Captain America side by side and smiling, and there's a shot of there's a photo or a painting or something of Norman with Wakanda T'Chaka, I believe, King T'Chaka. So it'll be interesting to see how
it's cool. It's super cool.
How like is Norman doing like sinister stuff underneath, or has that turn not happened yet? And he is still a good guy trying to be like a tech philanthropist or something like that these days.
I think that's kind of because that was always the double-edged sword of Norman Osborn is before the Goblin turn, he was he was a difficult father, but he wasn't like a monster.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about the Amazing the Spider-Man games for the PlayStation ones, has been Norman Osborn is a weapons contract. He's involved in this stuff. It's like, it's not because he's super shady or evil. It's just because he's at like full on arms, part of the military industrial complex as a corporate owner. And it's like, yeah, that means he's inherently evil, but not in a super villain way. And the fact that he's using the technology that he has to try to save Harry, all of that aspect of it, I thought was just like really, really great. I'm loving this. I'm loving what we're seeing from it. I love that we know that spider's still out there.
Yeah, it didn't die.
It didn't die, and it got picked up on somebody's backpack, and we don't know who it is.
Yep.
Like we see their feet. We know it's a person who's wearing like cuffed jeans and some tennis shoes, but we don't know who it is. And it was on its backpack. I'm really curious about that because that's also probably our link to our potential Venom as well. The fact that the symbiote dropped there, like there's a lot of like things that could lead up to some really like an accelerated approach to getting some of the more classic Spider-Man villains that the MCU movies never got to.
Yeah. Or I'll be curious, like maybe it was a Miles.
Oh yeah, no, and it's the same spider that bit them, both of them this time, doing that instead.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe, like, I always thought it was interesting, the idea that if the spider bites two people, well, one, the same spider did bite somebody else, Silk, and it caused Peter problems.
Yeah.
Because turns out if you're bitten by the same spider, you are have a natural attraction to each other, and it's kind of intense.
And maybe that's what they play with here. Maybe that was Silk.
Oh yeah, maybe that'll be Silk.
Could have been a Silk.
Could have been a Silk. Yeah. This is what's cool about this.
This iteration is like, we don't know where they're going to go with it.
They started off on a great launch point. If they can continue that velocity, if they can make the landing at the end of the season, I think it will be fantastic.
Yeah. Be curious to see how it plays out. Because, we're getting, the schedule is next week, we're getting a trio of episodes on the 5th called Secret Identity Crisis, Hitting the Big Time, and The Unicorn Unleashed.
Cool.
Then we're getting a trio of episodes on the 12th as well, Duel with the Devil, Scorpion Rising, and Tangled Web.
Oh, Scorpion Rising means we're going to get the Scorpion.
Yeah. The Scorpion is teased, and they've got. I've seen that they've got a Mac Gargan cast, but he's also.
Do they? Okay, then
he's also teased in the. I'll be curious to see if it's the same Mac Gargan that was in Homecoming, in the little cameo role. I don't think it is though. But he's also teased in in the intro music. Shout out to the intro song too. That has it's the classic song, but with a new new rap and beat over it. And then the finale on February 19th will be a duo of hero or menace. So we'll probably get some J. Jonah Jameson in there. And if this be my destiny, ... So
cool.
Yep, that's what we have to look forward to here in what was at one point in time Spider-Man freshman year. But now your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Let's see where we go from here. Trying to think, do I have any other notes to cover? Don't think so. So, any final thoughts from you there, Cam?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of already put it out there, but I am very excited to see what we get going forward with this. I think that there is an incredible opportunity for us to get a fresh tone and a fresh look at a Spider-Man origin. And I'm hoping it can kind of give that treatment, on some level, give that treatment that Into the Spider-Verse gave for Miles Morales to a younger Peter Parker here.
Yeah. Here's hoping that Hudson Thames keeps his foot out of his mouth.
Yep.
So
Dumbass.
dive into the report card. We grade from A+ to F. What do you want to give these first couple episodes of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?
I'm going to give it an A-. Really liked what I saw, but I feel like the animation is a bit jarring. Takes some getting used to. It's going to dock at some points, but otherwise I think it's still an A-.
Yeah, I was sitting in, I think, a B+ territory.
I think that's fair.
Pretty close there with you. Extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. We have What If? X-Men 97, and then a whole bunch of Spider-Man shows. So we have Spider-Man, the one that ran from 2017 to 2020, Ultimate Spider-Man from 2012 to 2016, the Spider-Man from when I was growing up, the 1994 to 1997 run, Spider-Man.
You want to talk about jarring animation? Go watch that again.
Sure,
oh,
yeah.
wow.
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in a one series from 1981, as well as the Spider-Man from 1981 series, and Spider-Man Homecoming, the Tom Holland movie. There we go. Extracurriculars. You watching anything else on Disney Plus?
Yes. Not yet. I'm just about to start some Shogun. Gonna hop into that, see how
Checking
that
out
goes.
some Shogun?
Yep.
Emmy-winning Shogun. Cool. As we were talking about before we started recording, I've just been watching more and more How I Met Your Mother. I'm in the penultimate season at this point, season 8, so I should have that probably finished up by next week, probably. So, well, that is going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. Thank you, Cam, for joining me to talk about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You can follow Cameron at revcabot.bsky.social. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I want to give a massive shout out to, I just think just everybody right now who is feeling overwhelmed. This is less of a check out our other stuff kind of shout out, and just more of a, if you haven't heard from somebody who is a friend of yours that is particularly affected by a lot of their more recent government policies, make sure you reach out to them, let them know that they're not alone. It's on all of us to remember that we are our own community. When we can't rely on the government, we need to rely on each other. Just want to put that out there. It's being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to your friends and neighbors. It's an important time to be doing that right now.
There you go. You can follow me at trevorjstarkey.bsky.social. I'll echo that sentiment. I don't think I have anything. We didn't have a Nerdy Site show this last week because we were over for the month, or basically at our cap for the month for data limits. I guess I'll, like tease that I put out there on Blue Sky.
Yes.
I will be turning 40 in March, and so I've been working on, for the last couple weeks, a project that kind of sparked my interest. That's basically going to be a 40 for 40, where I've gone through every year of my life, starting with 1985, and picked my favorite game of that year, as well as some honorable mentions. And I'm basically doing a big old long ass write up that I hope to have done by the time I turn 40 in March. And I started really doing. I've got the list of games, 160 games that I'm going to be chatting about in some form or fashion. And so I'm hoping that I have time to write about all of them between now and middle of March. So stay tuned for that when it hits That Nerdy Site. You follow all of us over at thatnerdysite.com. If you like what you heard, once again, please rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with friends, all that fun stuff. We'll figure out what we're going to do for next week's episode.
I have a pitch for you right now.
You have a pitch? All right.
That thing you do.
That thing you do. That's on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney
Plus. It's Hulu. On that
I don't know
side?
if it was Hulu, but it's on Disney Plus now. And I saw it. I'm going to do some research, figure out what we got going on.
I'm down for that. I have not watched that movie in so long, but that is such a bop.
And by the way, if you're wondering, is it an Abbott Family classic? You'll have to watch. Find out next week.
I'm gonna guess just by the fact that you name dropped the Abbott Family Classic moniker that it is. So spoilers. That's what he's going to say. It is an Abbott Family Classic.
How deep it goes, though, might surprise you.
Sure. Yeah. Shout out Steve Zahn. He should be in more things.
He should be.
He is always a delight when he shows up in something. Anyway, all right. So we're gonna do that thing you do for next week. So stay tuned for that. If you liked what you heard, once again, I already said that. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other. Class dismissed, and thwip thwip.
Thwip thwip.